I actually drove to New York and I used FSD a majority of the time. I even used it in the city, and there was like people running across the street. I was like, let's just see what happens. Like, worst come to worst, I hit someone. No, I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, like I let it, I just wanted to see, like, I had my foot close to the brake, but I said, like, let's just see what happens. And it performed really well in Manhattan. For me, it's like all or nothing. And, you know, my personal opinion, I think it's a phenomenal technology. I wouldn't bet against it. But as a consumer, I'm just not ready to pay for that because it's not enough for me personally yet. Some things I'll say which really impressed me. Tesla's software, I was initially very disappointed that I couldn't use Apple CarPlay. That like bothered me, but I've come around to it. Tesla has really phenomenal software. I think if I had to like one thing to critique about the software, specifically on the dash, it's that I think the GPS, I don't think the GPS is great. Like Waze consistently finds me faster routes with less traffic. Tesla's map navigation does not. So I have to, whenever I drive like longer distances, I have to still use my phone with Waze and the Tesla map because I want to see where they both send me. And it's always different. They literally, if they could just like license some like traffic technology, like they could solve this, but that consistently bothers me. But put that aside for a second. The other parts of the software are like phenomenal experience. The touchscreen is super receptive. It's not like those like Android screens where you touch it, there's like a delay. You know, everything is pretty much within reach. It's the only software other than CarPlay, like in vehicle software that I've seen, and I've tried them all: Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, Audi, Toyota. Well, Toyota's use CarPlay, but like I've tried them all. BMW uses CarPlay too, but it's the only software that I've seen that is not CarPlay that is actually like usable and actually enjoyable. So I think their software team has done a phenomenal job. I guess it's software and hardware, but they've been able to do a good job of that.
Yeah, that's one of the common positives that I hear about that specific brand. And it's, you know, it's interesting because it's hard to convey that until you actually experience it. It's hard to convey just how awesome it is to have a responsive touchscreen in a car versus every other touchscreen. Because when you think touchscreen in a car, you think, oh, it sometimes doesn't register me wanting volume up or temperature up or this menu or whatever. And so, yeah, it's interesting hearing you say that as somebody, again, that's very good at being just saying it how it is, that gap that exists. And it's what's fascinating to me is that they still haven't, like the other automakers haven't caught up. Like this isn't like they just came out with this software piece in 2024. This has been the case since 2012, right? So it's like, it's curious. It's interesting to see how everybody else is lagging behind, but it might be because they just want to go to CarPlay or Android Auto, and they're just banking on that being the interface, you know, so that they're like, we don't really care. Just let them take care of it. We don't want to, you know, we don't want to deal with it. It's not part of our expertise. So like, there's no reason for us to do it.
Yeah. So look, Elon is notorious for like cutting things out that aren't needed. Right. And so I think two things right here that I'm doing to like patch are, number one is I'm putting Waze on my phone for like 30+ minute drives. I have to do it every time. There's no choice because I live in an area where there's like crazy traffic in certain roads and whatnot. So that's one. Shorter trips, I just put the Tesla navigation. It's phenomenal. Number two, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't think I am, but the garage thing, do I have to subscribe to open my garage, or is that only if I want it to auto open?
Yeah, neither. If you want to use the MyQ, whatever their premium services that they have, you do have to subscribe, but that like gives you way more functionality. I've got mine set up to where I go in and out of my garage. It opens and closes. Well, I guess it doesn't open automatically, but it does close. Like it opens when I get home automatically and it closes when I leave automatically. But if I'm inside and I turn on the vehicle, I do have to do one of either, you know, hit the button on my way to the car or hit it on the screen to open on the way out.
If I understood that I have to subscribe to open my garage, which was, I was like, absolutely not. I put one of those old school things. I have it right now on my Tesla, which is just like annoying. So if I can do that without subscribing, great. Which is like, again, that's not even like table stakes. That's like beyond table stakes. But good to know. But here's the other thing, by the way. So the whole like automatic open close thing is like absolutely not with kids. Like I can just imagine like my kids either in the garage when I'm arriving, like, so as a parent, again, if anyone from Tesla is listening to this or cares, but as a parent, again, I definitely would not use that. It was just like, would be a disaster if, like, God forbid, like my daughter's in there and it auto opens or auto closes. I don't want that. So I'm definitely not using the auto open close. Yeah.
She's gonna
I'm
run
definitely
away.
not using that. Well, I go to the garage, the kids run after me. Right. And I'm sure many parents listening to this are like, yeah. So it's just dangerous for parents with kids. But again, you can use it if you want to, and you don't have to. So cool feature nonetheless. All right, let's talk FSD. Right.
Ooh,
so FSD,
you got FSD?
I don't subscribe to it. But I want to give you. So first of all, phenomenal technology. If anyone says otherwise, like they're just lying or they have like Elon derangement syndrome. It's just good technology. Like you can't argue. I've used all the adaptive cruise controls and blah blah blah. It's very unique. It's very adaptable and customizable. Like aggressive driving, comfortable driving. It's just great. I was really impressed. I actually drove to New York like the second or third day of having the Tesla. I drove to New York and I used FSD a majority of the time. I even used it in the city. And there was like people running across the street. I was like, let's just see what happens. Like worst come to worst, I hit someone. No, I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, like I let it, I just wanted to see, like, I had my foot close to the brake, but I said like, let's just see what happens. And it performed really well in Manhattan. Other than that, I don't know if people talk about this, but I think one of the biggest value props of FSD, ready for this? I maybe this is novel. When you're on a highway and there's like 6 lanes and you have no idea where to go, dude, like I've sit there like, double click, the car just knows where to go. So that to me, like I felt after I drove back from New York to my home, I felt like I had so much more mental energy. I think this is like an under discussed or under attributed like value prop of FSD, which is that it gives you so much more like, or it saves your mental energy that you don't have to think as much on the road. And that's a real thing. Like you drive from like, 2-hour drive, like you're exhausted, all of this. So FSD really like lightens the load on your brain. It sounds like weird, but it's true. And I experienced it firsthand.
It's so hard to convey this unless you truly are behind the steering wheel and pedal, and paying attention to the system. A lot of people, I think when they think of like self-driving technology, specifically from Tesla, they might watch a video from like years ago of this one-off situation where this bad thing happened, or the mainstream media publications that relish in driving negative stories about anything, not just Tesla, right? But I think that the fact of the matter is the large majority of experiences with that specific technology are very, very positive, and I cannot tell you how huge. How much I resonate with that statement, because that's exactly when my mind was blown. So I used to live in PA. So I lived in Bethlehem for like 20 years. And so New York to Bethlehem was, Route 78 East and West, you go, and then you get into the, either you take the Lincoln Tunnel or you take the other one, the stupid one over by whichever it is. There's a bunch of different ways to get in. But it's like exactly what you said is like these like cross exits. You got through a toll. Oh, I'm supposed to be on the rightmost lane.
So
I got to go all the way
confusing.
to the leftmost. It's so confusing. It doesn't matter if they have signs there. That was the initial value prop for me that was mind blowing. Now, I think the one that I'm very curious to hear your take on, if you still subscribe for FSD in the future. I want to ask you like why you don't subscribe, but when it's hands free, because I have that version right now where it's completely hands free, and all I have to do is just pay attention to the road. I just look forward, and I don't even have to touch the steering wheel. If you ever are up for it, once that's available, I would love to hear your thoughts on that, because that's yet another level that it takes it's like even crazier, because now you don't even have to like baby the vehicle. You just look forward and it just does its thing.
Yeah. So I'm not a subscribe to it, and I'll tell you why. The technology is really strong. It's not enough for me yet, in the sense that for as long as I still have to be somewhat attentive to the vehicle, and I can't be fully like hands off or hands free, or like doing like, as long as it's not 100% and I still need to pay some attention, it's not worth it for me. Like I can't really be using that time to do something else. So it's like, I still have to have my hands on the wheel. and I still have to be focused on the road, nudge me, do that. And then like maybe it makes him, or it doesn't know where to go, or it kind of like freaks out once in a while. Like, I feel like it's the most impressive technology I've seen with self-driving by far on anything, but it's not enough to replace that. Like, I will pay more than $99 a month, more than that, if it can truly give me my time back, because I value my time very, very highly. So for me, like $99, it's like, it's either I don't pay anything or I'll pay you $2.99 a month or $3.99. Like, you get what I'm trying to say? Like, I think that's how I view it. It's kind of like all or nothing. And as long as I still have to have my hands on the wheel, I still can't like be on my phone working or doing something else. It was a nice novelty thing, but I'm not ready to spend that money because I know I'm still going to be doing the driving anyways. So that's my personal take on it. Now, other people might say, hey, I have a very easy route to work every day, or my commute or whatever. Or maybe I'm stuck in traffic every day for 1 hour. And maybe for them, it's like even that like 20 minutes where I can just zone out, like that's worth it for me. Fine. I'm not that guy. I don't commute to work, right? I do like, I have random trips, places. I don't know what route I'm going to take. It's not predictable. I'm not, you know what I mean? So like for me, it's like all or nothing. And, my personal opinion, I think it's a phenomenal technology. I wouldn't bet against it, but as a consumer, I'm just not ready to pay for that because it's not enough for me personally yet.
And that's a sentiment that I hear a lot with the current version too. And actually my dad, I had him with me when I did the FSD with the latest version. And I asked him, even if you don't pay attention, would you get it? He's like, no, because I like to drive. So there's still like a subset of people that just don't want to do anything with the technology. But I really think as it pertains to like self-driving, for it to be self-driving, truly self-driving, it means really not paying attention. And to your point, that value prop just explodes at that point. Because like you said, it's time. It's not like time comes back to you. You can work, you can talk to people without paying attention. You can, sleep, you can do whatever you want in that car. And where I think Tesla is uniquely positioned in this case, and we'll see if they can execute against this, because this is like the big question. The existing fleet might be able to get an overnight update that allows that. So like your Model Y, Hans's Model 3 from 2018, my Model Y from 2021, once they finish the software, say sometime next year, they upload the thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, unsupervised FSD. Like you said, maybe now you pay $3.99 a month or $2.99 a month, but you can literally do whatever the fuck you want. I mean whatever the fuck you want, right? So it's like,
remember, because now you're buying me back time. Yeah, now you're buying me back time. And now it's a different ballgame, right? Like right now, I'm buying a much less time. So I'll tell you like one example, right? Like hypothetically, if I could like start and stop FSD on like a fractional basis, or like, micro transactions, I would use
per mile or something.
Like literally, like, yeah, exactly. Right. Because like if I'm going to New York right now and I'm entering these like, 7-lane highways, like I'll pop it on and off and whatnot and use it per mile. But like, I think they're sleeping on that because people like me would absolutely use it per mile. It's no different than like, insurance by the mile, or like, reading articles on news websites by the article. Like, I think that like, microtransaction world is the future. And I just think, I don't know if that would cannibalize like subscriptions, but the point is like, yes, if I could do it per mile, then I would use it a ton when I need to use it, because right now, it's not fully solved. It's not solving the full. It's not delivering the full value prop yet. So Tesla could still earn money from me right now if they let me use it per mile and turn it off whenever I don't need it anymore. That's a big one. So that's room for increasing margin and growing revenue just through that. And I could bet you that many other people would use it on a really like fractional basis like that if they could.
The only thing that I was going to say there is I 100% agree that that's a huge opportunity that's on the table. And I kind of, I have expected that for a while. We have seen them, come down on the price from that $200 a month to $99 a month. And I think that once they have fully solved the safety piece, that they'll really move even more in this direction. That it's just not really high on their priority list because I think they view the monetization capability of FSD, really kind of like you do, as far as that, binary, it either works or it doesn't. And when it works, it's worth so much that, like, offering the little, like, a la carte menu of what you can buy, or like how, do you pay for it by the mile or by the month or by the week or by the day? All those things are just, different pricing strategies that maybe they'll offer eventually, but they're just heads down on trying to, make that 0 right now on, does it work all the way, a 1. And then once they get there, we'll see what the world looks like.
Think about it. When it does work all the way, who are you bringing the most value to? Think about this for a second, right? Whoever's time is most valuable, right? So like in theory, when it does work all the way, right? Like that target market is going to find it the most valuable. People that value their time the most are going to be willing to pay the most for this as well. I just think right now, it's the only reason I'm not subscribed to it is because the amount of time and value I get out of it and use it is not enough to justify it. Like I said, it could be $99, it could be $9. I don't care about the absolute number. I'm a very simple person. It's like, is what I'm paying, right? Is that less than the value I'm getting? Whether it's $1 or $1 million. Super simple calculation. I'm a very simple consumer in that sense. So here's what I would tell you bottom line. Like I said, you have, like, if you say it's not a phenomenal technology, or if you just say, like, you're just intellectually dishonest. I just don't buy it, because it is really, really incredible, and it feels like magic. It just does. Good technology feels like magic. It feels like magic. The practical use case or the practicality of the use case is growing. And like you said, as you can not have your hand on the wheel and stuff like that, I think it's just going to grow even more. But I think there's going to be like a very big tipping point when, like, you can really, like, not put your hand on the wheel and not pay attention, where it's going to go like, hockey stick, because it's like in this type of stuff, like, the value is unlocked in the last 2%, right? It's like 99% of the technology is not enough. It's like you need that last 1-2% to really hockey stick it for adoption, in my opinion.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, couldn't agree more. And that's what they're working so hard at. And we'll see if they're able to do that, with their all vision system, because everybody else is using LiDAR and radar, and they're very novel with, cameras, inference computer on board, which is a fancy word for an AI computer, and then an AI brain at the headquarters that basically is like Hans calls it meat space GPT. So you have chat GPT for words. They have meat space GPT, which is like a GPT for physics. So it's a very novel way of approaching it, but that's what could allow them to just do a software update. It's very cool stuff. So nerdy.